We are live. Hi, everyone. This is Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman from ConnectedForReal, and this is Yael Trusch, and she is the queen on money and has an awesome podcast called Jewish Latin Princess, and she will introduce herself. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me here. This is so much fun. Yes, indeed. I don't know if I'm the queen, but I do have my brand, which is the Jewish Latin Princess, which is the name of my podcast, as you mentioned, and it started originally as a website. But I do work with women in helping them live a joyful, richer Jewish life. And that involves their relationship with money. And that very often involves their relationship with their husbands and money, because as you know, in marriage, that the topic of money is a big part. Money is a big part of marriage. So I have online courses. I have an online course called Jewish Money Makeover. I have a Facebook group called Jewish Money Matters, which if anybody wants to join. And I run these programs also in Spanish, in English, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yes. I love that. By the way, so I was in Venezuela for 4 years and in Argentina for 2 years as a kid. So it was like from 4 until 12.
Wow. I used to live in Argentina.
Oh, really? That's very cool.
Never lived in Venezuela, but I've been there many times.
Cool. So I love listening to your Instagram in Spanish because I actually understand.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun.
It gets me so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I understand it. Even though I haven't spoken Spanish in forever, I still have it in my brain somewhere in there.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's very tricky with having two languages and mixed audiences, but you know what? You do what you can. And sometimes I show up in Spanish, sometimes in English. I do the same thing with my podcast. Most episodes are in English, but here and there I'll throw, because there's a guest that really, her language of choice and her market is in Spanish. And since people know me as a Jewish Latin princess, they know that I'm bilingual. So I'll throw in an episode here and there in Spanish.
So I actually really enjoy that. Oh, que bien. There you go. We got a comment. I'm very happy about that. Yeah, so I really love it. I love it that I can understand and hear, the different messages that are really the same in different languages. It's fun. So you were saying, it's hard to juggle the languages. My issue is with Hebrew and English, because in the beginning, I was doing everything English. And then I went to the park and the ladies would say, it's not fair. You're only speaking English and we want also to learn from you. So I opened up a Hebrew class at night in the middle of the week just for them. And it was so cute. It like really took off.
Good.
And then when Corona hit, then I was doing Zoom meetings in English. And again, people said, no, we want Hebrew. So then I would, the balance of both of them and seeing, it's exhausting. After like 3 weeks of doing both, I just gave up on the Hebrew. Like, I don't mind doing the once a week class. Now it moved to Shabbos. So every week I have a class in Hebrew, but it's just so much going on that it's really, it was a decision I had to make.
It is. I
So
hear you.
there is my mother saying hi, and then the
hi,
next
mother.
And then she says hola. So
I hear you, because when I started blogging, I was doing it in both languages, and eventually I had to abandon the Spanish because it's not sustainable. Same thing with my newsletter; it's mostly in English. And I do have some people who have requested only Spanish. Like, if you're going to send me a newsletter, we love you, but send it only in Spanish. So I have them segmented, and I run my program like. Now I'm going to run it after Tishrei in English, but I'm running it currently in Spanish. And then come January, I'll run it again in Spanish. So I'll try to do that.
But that's okay, because if you're there, you know what to say. You could show up. It doesn't matter either way.
Right.
I like that. It's not like it's pre-recorded or anything. So
no, I'm all in with my students. All in.
That's awesome. Okay, so today we are talking about marriage and money, because my specialty is marriage and yours is money, and they touch so strongly. Like, they overlap in such a strong way. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So tell us a little bit about what you see from working with your clients and your programs.
So what I see a lot when it comes to marriage and money is that the main issue is we could call it a lack of a communication, but it's a little bit deeper than that. It's a lack of understanding of what my money story is and what my husband's money story is. And then how do we merge that together and we create our own money story going forward? And obviously that requires a lot of communication and a lot of vulnerability. And a huge part of the reason is because as independent beings, we are not comfortable with money. We have not been taught to be comfortable with money. We have not been taught to understand all the emotional components of money. We thought growing up that money was just something related to math and you just add and subtract, and right? And eventually we realized that there's a lot more to it. And for many people, money was taboo growing up. Money wasn't something that was openly talked about. People did not grow up maybe with being comfortable about having money conversations, and
a lot of people are still not comfortable.
Exactly. So a lot of what we do, aside from the marriage component, is try to normalize these conversations and try to understand that. Let's bring it to the Jewish, area, since I know most of your audience and listeners are Jewish. That from a Jewish perspective, money is a neutral tool that God gave us in the world. There's no shame in money. There's no shame in having money. There's no shame in working for your money. In fact, on the contrary, money is something to be utilized. It's not the end, but it's the means to live a wonderful life and serve God in this world, and all of that, what that means and that entails. And so a lot of it comes to shedding those misconceptions about what money means in my life, and that I might have learned from, experiences, things I saw at home, etc., and creating my own money story, which is not a simple thing to do. It takes not at all, because we have a subconscious that it's going to come and trip us over, but awareness is 90% of the work, right? And then when we come into a relationship, not only have we had to be very vulnerable and honest with ourselves, but now there's a partner to become vulnerable with. And what I always say to my students is that when we can get to a place where we can discuss money with our husbands openly and with respect and with vulnerability and regularly, because it does take certain regularity. This is not something we're going to, we're not going to crack the nut in one or two conversations. This is for life. Right. We build a higher level of intimacy. And as you and I know, in Judaism, marriage is the epicenter of everything. Marriage is the center. A Jewish home is the center of Jewish life, right? So that relationship between husband and wife is the most important thing. And the goal in so many of the mitzvot, I guess, that are related to marriage, it has to do with creating intimacy between that couple, creating a deep, deep connection. And very often, marriage is an area where we don't connect with our husbands. And it's like we're leaving so much on the table. There's so much depth we can achieve as human beings in that relationship when we can actually connect with one another in this very intimate part of our lives, which is our relationship with money. And create those goals together and everything that it entails.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that you made it so, in everybody's face, guys, marriage is the epicenter of your life, which is what I've been saying, because people think it's just one part, and this is something that's hard for me, but I'm successful in everything else and I'm doing a pretty good job and my life is sort of, okay. No, like when you crack that, that issue that you have in your marriage, everything else will fly. Like you will finally feel it because you're being so weighed down. It's really heavy. It makes it so heavy. And that's one of the things that women see when we work on marriage and I do a little bit of parenting, whatever comes up, and then suddenly they're totally unrelated business or unrelated keilu starts flourishing because they're finally free to be present, to be creative and to find solutions. And to just have support system, you know, a support partner, and it changes the whole game.
Everything.
And it's amazing. It's just amazing.
Everything.
So I love that you said that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that you say, and I want you to explain it to our audience, is the whole concept of money being an amplifier. Can you talk about that? Because that's my favorite.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah, I like that too. Well, so when we talk about money, as I said before, money is a very powerful tool, right? And one of the things that I always mention to my students is that money, in fact, is an amplifier, meaning that it amplifies who you really are. Meaning, if you're a generous person, you'll be more generous when you have money. If a person is a stingy person by nature, you'll be more stingy if you have money. If you're a very creative person, you'll be more creative, because what it is we're talking about impact. When we think about money, it's the ability to leave an impact, to create an impact, right? When we're serving God in the world, there are so many ways in which we serve Hashem in the world, and everybody has a unique way in which we can do it. But that money piece allows us to reach so many more souls, if you will. It's just more impact and more impact, right? So it amplifies everything, and yeah, it amplifies who you are, what you can do.
I will tell you why I love it so much, because I love it on a deeper level.
Tell me.
One of the things that holds people back from making more money is that they think it's going to change them. And this is a real belief that so many people, and I think it was something that I had to go through myself this year, growing my business and becoming so famous suddenly, and just like growing so fast, and all these things are happening all at the same time. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I actually wrote myself a letter. You know, the successful me is writing to the me, and being like, I am so proud of you. Look at how much you haven't changed, you know? And then it turned on the light in my head, like, oh, that's what I'm afraid of, that I'm going to change, that I'm actually not going to be as nice or as good of a mother or whatever. And just the other day, I was talking to someone else. We were discussing how a lot of women don't want to go out and start their own thing and lean into their gifts because they think it's going to hurt their marriage. And that's, again, we're talking about all these beliefs that are so limiting.
And I'm so happy, by the way, that you realize that, because it's totally the opposite. Not only will you not change, you're shining brighter. You can do so much of you. You can do so many more mitzvahs. You can create so much more impact. You can touch so many more souls when you have the means to do it. So again, there is no shame. It's just part of the way in which I can shine in this world. And it's just such a huge realization for people. And I'm so glad that you got it for yourself. And you said, oh no, I'm just the same wonderful human being who wants to serve women. And now I can serve them even more, right? Because once I'm generating more money, then I can hire an assistant who can help me reach more women. And that assistant now can pay tuition with that money. And then all my content I can put into a book that somebody can help me. I mean, it amplifies. It just continues to grow and grow from there.
Yeah.
I mean, God knew what he was doing, I would think. That's how he put it in the world.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So we have another connection, by the way. We also used to live in Houston, Texas.
I can't believe it.
That's where you live, right?
I've been here for 10 years. When did you leave?
Oh, I left in 98.
Oh, no. I was graduating college.
I was in elementary school. I was in 8th grade. So I'm the same. I was together with Rachel Wonder. She's probably living there now, no? Whatever. Hi, everyone. In case you're live and you're watching us.
Houston Connection. Okay.
Yes. So, and I have a friend also, Tippy. Oh, gosh, I'm so excited about Houston when I think about it. Such awesome people there.
Yeah. It's a really nice community. And it's a really nice place to raise children.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. But just so you know, Israel is very, very awesome too. And I highly recommend everyone come this way.
I might take you up on that.
Yes, you should. I actually think that that's one thing that, again, we have so many limiting beliefs, and that's what I do in my coaching. Is like, if I move, I won't find a place for my kids, or it won't be as good, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it takes time. You might have to find your way in the different communities and really feel it out. But once you find a place, it's like, oh my gosh, like, what was I even thinking when I was worried, you know? So thank God we just started the year this year, yesterday. September 1st is the first day of school in Israel. And I was just sitting there being so grateful that all my kids are so happy to go to school and to Gan and to, everything. And it's just like, oh my gosh, look at that. I didn't have to fight anyone. I didn't have to tell them to go. They were just so happy to go. And they walked to school, which was one of my highlights in my life. Like, I really did not like being driven around everywhere. So I wanted to live in a place where it was safe for my kids to just walk to school and walk back and not have to worry about it. So that was such a nice realization. I was like, wow, I'm having a grateful moment. And I just like sat in it for a long time.
I love
Just
it.
being like, wow. It's so awesome.
I'm glad you're telling me all this, because you're working me, because Israel's definitely been discussed in our marriage. Let's just say that in the past few months.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I do also, is I work with women who are talking about Aliyah or are planning Aliyah. Mm-hmm. And they're sort of hoping that any of their marriage issues will stay there. And when they come here, it's just going to all work itself out. It's like new beginning. It's going to be great. And it's like, yeah, but,
not really.
No. So if you're in that, please reach out, because there's just so much that you could leave behind and not bring with you. It's so great to declutter all that weight and come fresh. And you feel it. You feel it with, like, how you say, like, oh, I'll start working on it when something happens. Like, I'll start exercising when. Like, no, start now, so that by the time you get there, you'll be all way, lighter and more fluttery and, happier. Why do you need to wait? So this is one thing that is really important. Don't wait.
And when it comes to marriage, don't wait. Like, you need to take care of it now. This is like you said before, this is the most important relationship in your life. I mean, aside from your relationship with our creator, that for sure, but granted, but this is
together.
I was about to say, but to me, they go hand in hand, but I know that's like, for people, it's hard to grasp, but to me, they go hand in hand.
And that's also why when I called it Connected for Real, it started by being, connected to Hashem. And then when I realized my thing was marriage, it just connected so well, because there is a way to connect on a deep level that's very practical. Like, people think like, oh, connection is something so fluffy. Like,
but
no.
Judaism is practical here. That's what Judaism is.
Yeah. And that's, okay. So you guys, any questions, comments, send them down below before we run out of time, because yesterday we ran out of time and then there were some questions. So put them in the comments. We would love to answer them. And meanwhile, tell us more about what you're up to now. What is the program that you're starting after Tishrei?
So after Tishrei, I'm starting a 5-day challenge. Again, I just ran one very successfully for Spanish speakers, and opening my signature course, Jewish Money Makeover. And it's going to be if you count the Spanish program, it's going to be the 4th time that I run it. And it's really unbelievable, because we go through a whole transformation in terms of the way we think about money, the way we relate to it, and actually getting really practical on how do we deal with this thing on a practical level. But we also have to work on this, right? And obviously, marriage comes up a lot, and how does that come up? How do we deal with it within a marriage? How do we communicate with our husbands? And how do we talk about values? How do we talk about goals? How do we set them up for ourselves and when we're married, etc.? And obviously, Hashem, God, comes into the picture a lot, because this is a Jewish course for Jewish women. So it's really Jewish wisdom that really influence our practical financial life. Because I'll tell you, I don't know if you know, from my experience, when I had to really get down to the crux of, what's happening with my financial life? And, and that happened in the last recession, 2008. And from the period between 2008 and 2010, when my husband and I had a really like aha moment with money, we realized that it wasn't really the financial tools that we were both very comfortable with, because we come from a finance background, but it was really the Jewish wisdom that we started to apply and sort of stop giving lip service to it and really, really understand and put it into practice, that really transformed our financial life and really shifted our financial paradigm. And it also changed our marriage. It really, really has affected our marriage in a very beautiful, positive way. So all of that is coming up. And I also have, for anybody who's interested in starting money dates, regular money dates with your spouse, where you can start becoming vulnerable and talking about money. And you kind of need to know, well, how do I do it? I have like a guide that walks you through the things that you should discuss, like seven, but you'll stretch it out. It'll give you enough material to really cover a year worth of money days. And you could do it even for yourself and then kind of start sharing this with your husband. But anybody who's watching can find that at jewishlatinprincess.com/money date. And if I could tell you very, very quickly what I think is most important about these money dates is do them regularly. They have to be scheduled on your calendar. And the objective is that you have alone time with your husband where you're actually going to look at your finances, the big stuff and the small stuff, right? And you're actually going to decide who takes care of what and what do I think about this, and what were my experiences as a child, everything that comes with with money. And that's a lot. That's why I put a guide for people to really be able to, okay, let me understand how I do this. But regularity is very important. Being open, respectful, vulnerable, and making sure that the money conversations happen in that assigned space rather than when you're cooking dinner and, or bathing your child, right? That's when the explosions happen. Like you're totally not ready to have a money conversation because money is emotional, right? And all of a sudden there's an explosion. You don't know, how come you're fighting all of a sudden? Oh, we just started talking about tuition in the middle of bath time, or the credit card, or, this fee or that fee, right? So it's trying to create a space where you could actually have those conversations. They happen in where you have the headspace to do it.
I love that. Yeah. So here's the thing that I'm going to add, because I think that the question that isn't being asked is, what if my husband's not into these things? And I think one of the things that has helped me, because I'm married to a rabbi who is a very big rabbi, and his brain is very, different than mine. I'm like an artist, creative, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And he's very, he's so square and able to keep a routine and da 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 da. And it's great because it helped me really, really with everything. Just like sort of pulled me together. So that was awesome. Like the first couple of years, I was just let it stick, because I was all over the place. And I knew that about myself. I was in art school. I was so happy. I had a graphic design job in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue. I was having a great time, and then, right away I had a baby. So I was also all over the place. Like you don't actually have a routine or a schedule or a square life type of thing. So it really helped me to put myself together. So I like to talk about that openly because I think it's just nice to know that it is okay that you're both different. It's actually the way I made it. He did it on purpose so that you can help each other sort of come to the middle. He pulls me and I pull him and we sort of help each other. And we're not doing it by force. We're not pulling, but we're just sort of like the dust sort of gets on you and it rubs off. So it's great. My husband is like, fine. He is so calculated. He is actually a calculator in his head where he will go shopping. He has these like superpowers. Okay. He'll go shopping. He won't look at prices or anything. He'll just grab the things he needs. And then he tells the cashier it's going to come out to 190 shekels. And then she's like, do. And it's like 189, 0.1. And it's like, how did you do that? So he has such an ability to calculate amounts and money and like even food. This will fit into that box and it fits perfectly to like the rim. How? Anyway, it's just amazing. But because he's so calculated and so able to keep everything in his head, then nothing is on paper. So like I have no idea what is in his head. So I've tried a couple of times throughout our lives to just like sit him down. Come on, tell me what's going on. Tell me how to this, tell me how to that. And eventually I was like, you know what? I don't need to have these conversations. If you're happy with it and I don't mind, fine, whatever. I'll do it myself. And so I sat myself down and did the whole, the budgeting, and I plugged in all the numbers, and I wanted to see for myself how things were going. And it was so much fun. It was like, I felt like it was my game, and I didn't have to involve him for me to feel good about it. And I think that's something that's really important, because a lot of women feel this way. They feel like they can't pull their husband into it. I can't change him. I can't fix him. I can't force him. I can't nudge him. It's not working. And so
you don't have to.
Yeah, instead of saying it's supposed to be this way, just come to peace with it. Just be happy and be like, okay, it's my thing. I want it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and one of the things that there's this syndrome of Prince Charming is coming, and he's going to take care of my financial life, and a husband's supposed to do that. But let me tell you something, 90% of nine out of 10 couples, the woman will outlive their husband. There is a point in your life where you're most likely to have to deal with your finances. And that is if you're happily married all your life. Let's not even talk about, God forbid, divorces, or God for, you know what I mean? There's just so much that it's almost like we are so capable and so empowered, and we've been given all these gifts. Why do we kind of like shy out of this area? Why would we not want to know, what our goals are? How much is in the bank? How much are we saving for our future? Do we have life insurance? Do we have a will in place? What kind of accounts do we have for our kids? How much do we actually make? Like, why would you not want to know that in a marriage, right? Why would you want to be in the dark? And by the way, I think eventually women realize that their husbands end up appreciating that you want to be helpful in that area.
Right.
That you're here to partner with him. I think that's where the intimacy part comes in, right? It's not like he knows everything and you're just like, oh, no, I'm just this princess. I'm not going to hear anything about it. No, we have to step up. And of course, every couple finds their balance. There's one who's going to be more the numbers person, and that's totally fine. But the whole point is to find what is your balance, not kind of push aside the responsibility and say, somebody's going to take care of this area of my life. No. This is a relationship. Right. We're both going to be in the loop. We're both going to know what we want, what we have, what we're working towards. It's not an area to ignore.
And I love that you said, it's like either we're like this where we're equal and maybe one person's better at numbers or whatever, but we're communicating, or we have a gap, and that gap creates so much friction, and it's
so much
not necessary. So we're always moving back to, how do I make myself an equal? And a lot of times when a woman feels like she is down here and she can't get the information, she's not getting the access, she's, bumping into a wall, then bring yourself up. Don't wait for someone to pull you up. Just do it. It's your responsibility. It's your life. And when you do it, you're just going to feel so good about it and get on with it. Like, it's scary. Do it scared.
Yeah.
Don't let it, sort of flutter away. Just, it's not going to go away until you take care of it. Yep. And then that's it. It's over.
I'll give you a starting point for people who are feeling that way. When you start working even on the basics, like your money story and your earliest money memory and all these things that I teach my students, right? When we work on that on our own, and then we come to our husbands like, you know what I just learned about myself? Like, I never realized. And I just discovered that sometimes when you and I talk about money or something comes up, there's like a trigger, and I just discovered why. And he'd be like, okay, what? And you start becoming vulnerable and sharing. Eventually, he will feel comfortable enough to ask himself the same questions and share with you. So by you doing this work first and allowing yourself to share those discoveries with your partner, that's how you're bridging that gap.
You're spoiling it for everyone. You're spoiling what actually happens when they work on themselves. Yes, I agree 100%. When you work on yourself, it will automatically open up doors that you had closed yourself, you know, because we get into that. Yesterday was Leora Mandel. We spoke about loops and how you're in a loop and in a loop and in a loop. And just all you need to do is break that loop and make a change. And so it's very hard to make a change by forcing yourself to feel a certain way or by forcing yourself to act a certain way without working on, you know, what's behind the scenes. But when you work on that and the beliefs and on what's going on behind the scenes, you are able to just react completely differently without trying. And that's where the magic is. It's like, listen, I'm having so much fun. I just realized this and that. And actually, my husband and I went on a walk one Shabbos and we started talking, and we had such a great walk. We're walking back and forth, and I'm telling him all these things that I'm learning with my coach and this and that. And he's like, wow, I never thought about that. It's so fun to hear that. It's so fun because it means that we're actually talking. We're actually having conversations that are adult level, you know, not just like who's going to take the kids from school and what's going to be for dinner and da, da, da. You know, it's so technical. A lot of marriage turns into technicalities because that's just how it is. That's why I love that you bring in the date and the putting time aside for it. It's just like, we have time and that's it.
That's it. And like you said, like, and I always say this, it raises the level of the conversation. You just said it. We talk like adults. When you and your spouse are talking about how you envision your child's bar mitzvah and what would that really look like, those are really meaningful conversations. Instead of going by default, I'm just going to press the button and do it like my neighbor did, right? Because that's just the way it is. But when you go deep and you think, how do I really, really want it from my soul? Or how do I envision my kids' weddings? And how much money do I really want to spend on that? Would I rather give them for a down payment on a home? But like, these are high level conversations. How do we see retirement? How do we foresee a move? What are our goals? What's our vision for the future? And how much money will that entail? And how do we make that happen? That's connection.
Yes.
That's intimacy. It's a higher level. It's not about the sandwiches and did you get the Ziploc bags on sale? No. Right. We're raising the bar here.
And that's another thing that I really love is when you put the focus on the beliefs and the stories and the things that are happening behind the scenes. You're not looking to save every penny on everything because your time is more valuable and suddenly your brain space is more valuable and you're really evening out the playing field to your advantage. You're making it that you have to succeed, you know? There's no other way because once you start clearing up all the noise and getting clear, like, you know, you really see things differently.
Yeah. And when we start talking about our businesses or our careers, I mean, these are really powerful conversations. You know, if you're not happy with your job or how much you're making, have you communicated that to your spouse? And what are your fears? What if you actually started a side hustle? Or when your husband talks to you about his entrepreneurial ventures, if he has them, does it trigger fear? How do you communicate that? And where is that coming from? And then he can understand you better. I mean, there's just so much. It's such a beautiful area because marriage is such a beautiful area. And again, money is such an incredible tool that God put in the world that when we give it its proper attention and its proper role in our life, it can enhance so much of it.
You know that because we spoke about Aliyah, it just came into my head and I think I had to say it. When we decided to make Aliyah, we were very young. We already spoke about this when we were dating. And when we, you know, it was a goal. We knew we had to do it as soon as possible. We had a baby and then we got this job in California. We were going to be a rabbi in a something. And it was going to pay us $70,000. It was going to be amazing. We were going to get all these students that were going to come for Shabbos. It was like the ideal job because my husband was a rabbi and I was, you know, daughter of a rabbi. This was my life. And one day we just had we each separately had a different dream in the same night that made us wake up like, oh my gosh, we have to make Aliyah. And he was like, what? I was just going to say that. And it was like really strange. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to go to the other side of the world. Like here I am in New York. I don't want to go to California. It's like 3 hours, you know, backwards.
Time zone, right?
To like be so far away from my family and not be where I'm supposed to be. So we decided to really sit down and talk about it. We thought, between ourselves that going to get that job and, starting our life with a lot of money and being able to make aliyah with a cushion or whatever was just a way to delay making aliyah. Mm-hmm. And it also felt like it was the Yetzer Hara trying to like pull us away. So we canceled that. We decided to make aliyah. We were one of the quickest people to like fill out all the forms and do all the stuff because we were just like, we're doing it this summer. That's it. And we did it. And when we told people about it, the most amazing thing happened. Everybody's story about money was projected onto us. Wow. So when one person was like, "Oh, it's great. You're going to do wonderful. You guys are so awesome. You'll succeed anywhere." Those were the people who had this great, story about money and how Hashem runs the world. And most of the people, and this came out a lot, what? You're going to be poor. You're not going to have money. You're not going to be able to own a house. You're not going to be, crazy. On and on and on. And all this negativity. And you're not going to have a job. And what are you going to do? And this and that. And it's like, wait, you mean Hashem told me I have to, I have a mitzvah to make aliyah. But then once I do it, he's going to be like, ha, I got you. I'm not going to make it work. No, he wants me here. He told me he wants me here. Why would he do anything to like, not make it work? It didn't make sense. It's like, I am going because Hashem wants me there. Hashem will make it work. Hashem will work it out. And when you have that attitude of like, I am doing Hashem's will and he's going to show me the way, so much awesome stuff happens and things just fall into place. And Baruch Hashem, we own a house, we have food, we have money. Surprise!
You have your own business? I mean, come on. I thought you're not going to make it. Look at that. Right? And by the way, it's not just about making aliyah. It's about everything in your life. Like, you want to have a career in XYZ, or you dream that you would serve the world XYZ. Do that, because that's your natural calling. That's your natural inclination. And if the creator of the world put that natural inclination, then that's where you need to be. Stop going there because your mother, your daughter, your aunt, your sister-in-law says that's where you're going to make money. You could never make money doing that, right? Or who are you to do that? Right? No.
You just said like your mother, you're this, you're that. The people I was the most scared of their reaction of me leaving graphic design and actually being a marriage coach was my mother's friends who I never see. And I don't even know their names. Like, right. I just have this image in my mind of this like court, like like a bunch of like heads, these like talking heads going, "Ooh, what is she doing? Who cares?"
But not only that, they're not looking. They don't care. Nobody's looking at your life with a magnifying glass. Except you.
Of course, it's all in my head. But the coolest thing that happened was that some of my mother's friends are some of my biggest, like cheerleaders. They're like, "Yes, you're doing it. Good job." Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Really? Wow, this is great."
Because that's what the world needs. The world needs people who step up to who they really are, who are comfortable in their skin, who own their gifts. The world is so thirsty for that. It's called leadership. Like, wow. Right? And so we think they're not going to like it. But guess what? If we like it, if we know that that's the right thing, then let's worry about serving the people who are going to like it. And most likely, the majority, there's going to be like one or two people who are not going to like it. Well, okay.
That's okay.
I'm not going to serve the other hundreds and thousands of people who God needs me to serve because of the two people. Isn't that crazy? It's a sin. Like, seriously, it's like
I know. And one thing that comes up a lot is I don't believe, this came up for me when I was looking into high schools for my daughter, and I was trying to figure out why I was so stressed out. And my anchor thought was this amazing anchor thought that I was able to pull through many things with. It was, it was, I can't remember the exact words now because I'm like on the spot. Hashem believes in me. Mm-hmm. Who am I not to believe in me?
Exactly.
That was the line.
Exactly.
I love that. It just anchors me every time. Like, Hashem believes in me. He put me here. He gave me this daughter. He knows exactly what I'm doing. Like, who am I to question him?
Exactly.
You know, instead of thinking like, oh, you know, who am I to do this thing, whatever. No, who am I to question?
Who am I to question? Who am I to not show up? Like, yeah. And what you said, we say it every morning when we say Modeh Ani and we say your faithfulness is great. Like, Rabba Emunasecha, oh, the creator of the world has faith in me. Like, he literally has faith in me that I have something to accomplish today. That's why he's given me another day. Who am I not to show up for him? Like it's when we think like that, it just humbles you on the one hand, and it gives you also this huge sense of responsibility.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a lot here. The money stuff, people think it's just the money. There is so much here.
Oh, yeah. No, the truth is that in the beginning, I was like, why do I have to pick marriage? I could just help everyone with everything, you know, because it's like, here I am. But I realized that this is my favorite thing because it's where I see the most transformation, you know, where I see like we touch on marriage and then suddenly everything else ripples. And that's like, whoa, that's awesome. You know, that makes me so happy. So then I picked marriage, and then I see it really doesn't matter because eventually it all comes down to what you believe and what the story is behind what is going on. And that's just it. That's all you have to do is just constantly question.
Yeah. Which you're friends with Hannah Mason?
Yeah, she was my first guest on my
live. Yeah, exactly. Which is exactly what Hannah Mason's work is based on. Exactly.
And it's so funny because I was getting really known for working with Byron Katie's work. Like, I actually do the work with my clients sometimes when that's the right tool. And I like teaching it to them because once they know how to use it, then they could use it themselves. Then somebody said to me, you have to get to know Hannah Mason because she also does the same thing. So that's how, like, you know, there was a shadchan and we met, and then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we totally have to work together and like have a thing. So she was my first live, and that was the one that made me want to do it more. I was like, oh,
she's come to speak with my students also because I just love her work so much. And yesterday we had her, actually. It was so transformational. It was just great.
That's amazing. That really is. Yeah. So it's just so much fun. Once I did the live with her, I'm like, this is awesome. We're doing lives from now on.
Yeah, like, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, this is fun. This is a lot of fun.
I love it. I get so excited because when I'm doing the YouTube videos, I'm just on my own in front of a camera and trying to say and edit and this and that. It's too much thinking. It's like, okay, you guys just ask your questions. Let's get it, you know. And then I also get to talk to people.
Yeah, it's like me and the podcast. It's like my favorite thing. Well, you're a listener, so you could probably tell. Like, I love my pod. I don't know what. I don't know if you don't have whoever doesn't have a podcast, call me. I'll convince you to have a podcast.
I'm actually trying to convince myself not to have one because I think that I need to like conserve my energy. You know,
that's true.
Like
that too.
I could probably take all these, you know, YouTube things that I do and transfer into a podcast, but whatever, it might come. Who knows? You know what? If you guys think I should do a podcast, then tell me down below. And if you want me to conserve my energy for you, then also tell me. No, it's something that is like, you know, shiny. How many years are you doing your podcast?
It's going to come 4 years. Wait, 3.5 years. It was 3 years this February or 4 years this February? Oh, I don't know. It was 3 years this February. So it'll be 4 years next February. 2021, it'll be my 4th year. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. You really got in on early.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely am like the Bubby of Jewish podcasts. I did. Not early in the podcasting sense, but definitely in the Jewish world, yes.
That's awesome. It also in the podcast sense, like most podcasts that I hear are around 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like a big move 3 years ago. And
now there's also a big thing because of COVID and we're all online and whatever. So.
Yes, and here we are.
Here we are.
Awesome. So we're running out of time. Is there one very practical thing you want to leave us with?
I want to leave you with, give yourself the opportunity to sit and pay attention to your money regularly, whether it be by yourself or with your husband. Explore not just the numbers. You have to look at the numbers, but explore your money story. Take care of what really is your relationship with money. Start writing a letter to money, for example, which is an exercise I do with my students. Yeah, it's a very powerful exercise. Download that guide, JewishLatinPrincess.com/money date, and work on that on your own if you want to, but do it. Don't leave this relationship as something that one day somebody will take care of. No. Step up to it. You're going to discover so much about yourself. You're going to grow so much, and you're going to actually open yourself to receive God's blessings of abundance, because you're showing up. Oh, I could be a good manager of your resource, right? So God says, oh, you're actually showing up. I had a student who said, the week after I finished your course, and I'd be doing, she was a very disciplined girl. She did all the homework, everything. She said, all of a sudden I got a job that's paying me $10,000 more. It's based in Israel where I'm moving to. It's flexible time. It's like everything it's in the field that I wanted. And I said to her, you mean that God was waiting for you to show up? And she's like, yeah.
Oh, you don't know what a podcast is? Here we have I don't know what a podcast is. A podcast is like a radio show, right? Is that what you would say?
That is what it is. You find it on your phone. Where's my phone? On your phone, you just have a little podcast app and you subscribe to podcasts, and they are free, and you listen on the go as you drive, as you do your exercises. And I always say the cool thing is, like, it's not like a WhatsApp little audio that people send a class on or whatever. It's like somebody calls you, the podcast is still there exactly where you left it. It's not going to drop or anything, you know?
It's so awesome. I feel like the podcasts were my guides, you know. I picked up a bunch of different podcasts along the way, and I'm just so happy I did, because every time I need to hear something, Hashem sends it through a podcast. Like, I'll turn something on and start cleaning my kitchen, and then somebody will say exactly what I need to hear at exactly the right time. You know, like, I was really scared. I'm like, I don't know what to do, whatever. And then it was like, okay, do it scared. Just do it. And that was perfect timing. You're welcome. I love Nicole. Nicole is awesome. You just keep showing up. I'm so proud of you. Okay, so thank you so much, Yael. I really enjoyed having you. I feel so like I have just reached a milestone. Okay, having Yael on my show was like, woo!
Oh, please stop.
It's like, now I know I made it.
Oh, well, that's very sweet, but you shouldn't. I'm so happy that we did that. I'm so happy that you're a podcast listener. You should have told me that. I never knew that you listened to my show. I'm like, oh, that's so great. So
I didn't listen to every single one, but
you have 133 to binge on. I have a really good one coming up tomorrow or tonight. We'll see. You will want to stay tuned. But yeah, thank you for having me. This was so much fun, and we should get together more often. I think that would be great. We could be talking for a very long time.
Oh, yes. And I love that we agree on a lot of things. Yeah. I hear you sometimes doing the same thing I do, which is like, wait, I don't agree with that, you know? And I was like, she did it. Just like I do. and it bothers people, but I think it also makes it more fun because we don't all have to agree on everything, but there's just certain things that are, when you're connected to Hashem, then certain things just like irk you, like it's like, wait, no, Hashem is the source, not like that. I totally relate to that and connect. Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget that next week we have 2 lives scheduled, and it's going to be really awesome. If you want to sign up to the newsletter so that you can know what's going on behind the scenes, then that's at ConnectedForReal.com. And I am in Facebook and on Instagram at ConnectedForReal. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for the work that you do.